know why. Just look at you in the corner.
I don't like having my back to you, but
You
I
have
got
to.
one. Oh, she's not like that.
Too much words. Oh yeah.
Oh. I can do that. This part I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's like a modified sprinkler. Yeah.
I can never get my kids to do that.
He's just picking stuff up.
Here we go, this one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know it. Now you got it. Look at it. Yeah. Look at that.
This one.
Yeah.
Seriously, so you do anything.
Okay. Yeah. All right, who got your grade? You know, everybody always asks, why do we do things like that? Well, John Rady has a great book that talks to us about the importance of exercise and movement. And so we've got your brain, your dendrites firing. You're ready for great learning this afternoon. With Aaron coming on, you could tell I didn't breathe while I was dancing. It's kind of like where our teacher said, you mean I can't do art?
Just did, and all of the phenomenal work around the instructional rounds that are happening. Many of you have already participated in one or several of those. I know at one of the schools, one of the early schools for rounds, when they were around in the different classrooms, a team was in a kindergarten classroom, and the teacher so wisely used Go Noodle, and it actually had to do with literacy. It had a book involved, and the kids were moving, and it was a transition between a whole group instructional piece and the movement into what they were going to do next. And it was just one of those things that I just heard about because it was a celebration that our schools that we're serving know the whole child. And we know how to help lead that and continue to support systems around that whole child, all that they need around literacy, movement, learning, etc. So it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here and to represent the Reading Now Network, but also to represent the work that's happening around what we call the Literacy Essentials in Michigan. Because even though I was a part of the field team when Reading Now Network started, and then now I'm supporting a lab school, one of the first schools, kind of the precursor to this grant, and actually was in that school this morning. It's just the best work ever. But I specifically am here because I'm currently the coordinator for the Early Literacy Professional Learning Grant, and that is the context for a lot of professional learning that's happening for literacy coaches and others around what we call, again, the literacy essentials. But let's unpack that a little bit. When we think about the literacy essentials, there are actually 5 and more documents that fit underneath that umbrella. So today, for the next like 25 minutes or so, what we'll do is spend about 10 minutes looking specifically at the website that houses all of the literacy essentials, and we'll look closely at the resources around the modules that are coming up for those essentials, so that you have an explicit plan leaving today for your own self-study, so that you can dig deeper into this work. And then we'll flip to Zoom. Dr. Melissa Usiak is ready to support us for another about 15 minutes, and we will unpack one of the school-wide essentials that we feel is definitely aligned with the work that you're doing right now. So when you think about, as Derek mentioned, Laurie will be talking about those 5 phases of your work here in this grant. Just considering this first phase, and as you're starting to connect with a school and get to know that team, we've selected what we dig into today based on where you're at with that. So, and then we'll just have a quick interaction, and this portion will be done for now. So Derek passed out a little, almost like postcard-sized document that we made for you. If you need more, he's holding them up right now. And we're going to use that as something you can take away today, post on your bulletin board in your office, or keep with all of these resources. And what we wanted to do is be able to provide that support when we're not together, so that you can continue your own learning around this work. So we know that this HIL grant is based on several leadership principles and research, and one piece of that is around the school-wide essentials. But that's not all. So we know that instructional practice, while that's not your main role, you're not an instructional coach, that's tied in with all of this. So you'll want the same knowledge and the same experiences as those who are leading other pieces around the essentials. I love how Dorothy named a couple weeks ago that she was about ready to present to a group of literacy coaches, and she went in and she watched some of the instructional modules. She felt like, I'm going to be talking to some of these experts. I need to be caught up to this. And she did that for herself, just to feel like she had the language. And she wouldn't have needed to do that. She's a literacy leader already, but what a great example. So let's move into what you have on that little handout. We are going to go to literacyessentials.org. This is the home of all things essentials in Michigan. And this is a newer site. Actually, all this work is newer. So when you start to engage deeply with the school you'll serve, you will know that many of these, Derek, could you help me expand this so it's the full screen? Thank you. You'll notice that many of our schools might say, yeah, I've heard about this essential thing, or yeah, I know someone who's working on that. Really the audience who's had the most work around this is the early literacy coaches in Michigan. And then depending on where they are situated, and that's different in every county, those are the educators who've had the most exposure and the most deep work around this. So pretty much we're, I think, at that level of awareness still around this work. It's all so very new. The modules will help to accelerate that. So when we're here on this website, and you'll notice in the little handout, we're just going to really walk through that. You've got a couple bullets up at the top, and I just want to show you those 2 tabs. There's 2 tabs that are the most important to you right now. The first one is the Essentials tab. So this makes it so you do not need to carry along your little spiral booklet of the essentials. You don't need to have a copy with you unless you say, no, but here's where my notes are. Here's where I've kind of made sense of it myself. I mean, for sure, but with technology now, with smartphones in our pocket, we're able to get to the essentials at any time. So just memorizing for ourselves literacyessentials.org and knowing that that first tab, the essentials, is where they live. That will help us at any time to access this work. Now remember, we said kind of the literacy essentials, and we talk about them broadly, but it will be important for you to start to specify your language whenever you reference these, because it could cause confusion to the field if we just call everything the literacy essentials. There are essentials that are specific to what should happen in the classroom for Tier 1 instruction at the pre-K level, at the kindergarten through 3rd grade level, at the 4th and 5th grade level now. There's a document for that. And soon there'll be a document for 6th through 12th grade. There's also a resource in process with a new team on a birth to 3-year-old essentials document. It's very exciting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that excitement. We can't wait. When you think about Michigan and all of our efforts around literacy, really it is that birth to 12 and beyond continuum that we really need to center in on. So these resources are providing a baseline. They do not dictate program. They do not tell schools how to lead. They do not tell schools what they might choose as far as goals within those essentials. At the same time, it is a nice baseline that not only Michigan is using, but several states in the country are using this now and continue to come and ask our team if they can use them. Even Australia is using this work. So it's kind of exciting for Michigan to start to lead in something again. But this is a good tab. This is a tab that we need. You know, we'll want this tab at our fingertips. But today, I really just want you to see this other piece. It's called supporting resources. Second bullet down on your piece of paper. And I want to show you these 1, 2, 3 pieces so that you can navigate to this confidently on your own. So when you go to supporting resources, you have a few options. So it talks about the essentials. All that does is take you back to the essentials in case people went here first. And then we have training modules. And we have sample videos. So the sample videos are all of those high quality classroom videos that are embedded in the training modules, but they're on their own YouTube channel. So when you want the down and dirty vision of this work, because you really might not have the time that Dorothy had to go through whole modules, you know, at some point in your work, then you can always access those sample videos. Or if you're really fluent with YouTube, you could follow the Michigan virtual team that is putting out the sample videos, and you could always access those whenever they come out. So, but today we're going to take a look, number 1 right here, at the training modules. And you'll see yellow highlights on this document because these are our recommendations here in this phase 1 of your work for you to take on your own time. So let's look at those training modules really quickly. When I click, I have 2 different choices. Our number 1 here is on the instruction for K-3. The second underlined piece is on the instructional coaching. Let's just look at the core Tier 1 instructional practices for kindergarten through 3rd grade. That's what's up right now. And we just click on that, you see the essential document, but then you have the modules. When you click here at the modules, this is your portal to everything module. Okay? And it's as easy as just knowing where to click. Once you click on that, you'll be invited to make a Michigan virtual profile. It's totally free. It will always be free. You also have the option to receive SCECHs for this. So you put in your PIC number if that's necessary, and then you move forward at the pace that you decide. There is not a personal moderator of these, so you don't have to worry about being in lockstep with other learners, like in other kinds of modules you might have participated in. This is truly a self-directed study. So when we click there, I'm not going to move through all of that, just honoring our time today, but when you click there, you are sent right to that Michigan virtual portal. And see, here's even directions. So right down here, you can even click right to those documents. But again, I would get off on a rabbit trail if I started to click on all of those things. I want to honor your time and get on with the other important work for today. So take a look at the document. So you know specifically there are going to be 10 modules, 1 per instructional essential. And 3 are out, 4, so module 1, 2, and 3 are already out, aligned with essentials 1, 2, and 3 for kindergarten through 3rd grade. Module 4 is ready, so it will be out as soon as possible. And then the rest of them are going to be released periodically until September of 2018, and that's the deadline to have them all set. These are being created very closely with the same team of researchers who helped establish this research base to begin with. So we can trust that the content, not only in the modules where you're learning the specific content, but in the videos, everything has been designed by the top names in our field. So it's really exciting, and sometimes that affects timelines, and we all just choose to be patient because we want the best to come forward for our field and for our kids, and that is being realized right now. You know, that estimate right there about each one being about an hour of time to complete, that's varying based on the essential. but just so that you know for your own planning, you can always stop and start. You don't have to finish them all in one fell swoop. You can absolutely pause and it'll just pick up where you left off. And we do ask that you please complete these as they're released. So the same thing is true, just really quick, for the coaching practices. Now we changed our recommendations to you around the coaching practice modules because, honestly, you aren't instructional coaches. So we want to acknowledge that flexibility. These coaching modules, the second choice here, when I go to supporting resources, so now I'm on number 2, these coaching modules are still valuable for you, and it might be valuable just through the lens of knowing what literacy coaches are basing their work on in Michigan and knowing that research base. Just so you know, there are 4 modules that will come out total in that work. Even though there are 7 essentials, those are kind of paired up in each of these modules because it only makes sense that, for example, Module 4 is around literacy leadership, the principal's role in coaching, and how coaches support a literacy leadership team. So that whole package of learning is all in Module 4. Really, that's Coaching Essential 4 and 7. So we were really intentional as we planned that to bucket them together in bits of learning that make sense for people. So there'll only ever be 4 modules, 2 are out, 2 are to come. One of those is almost done, the next one is coming very soon. Again, each is about an hour. So this B right here, even though it's highlighted, we just want to be careful about your time and also invite you to take part in those as you see fit, and really do strongly recommend that you do work through those whenever it makes sense for you, just so you have that same knowledge that the literacy coaches are getting. Okay. The last thing is, this is all we have right now. We have K3, we have coaching modules, they're coming. The pre-K modules are also in the queue, so the pre-K modules will be started to be released soon. There will be 10 of those, but they're going to kind of stair step those so that there'll be a K3 and then a pre-K, because our pre-K world really needs this kind of support now. So that is going to start to come out, again with the timeline of having them all done by September of 2018 or the end of September. So while you may not be supporting a school that has pre-K, what about young 5s? What about that developmental level? What about students who struggle in kindergarten and the work that would need to happen as you back down that progression of instruction? So while we say this might not be your highest priority, as these pre-K modules come out, it would only grow our collective understanding of that very early stage in that progression. So we recommend it. It's not highlighted because it's not the highest priority. And then the little star at the bottom is that we do not have modules for the document that will be most connected to your work, yet there's talk about modules for the school-wide and center-wide practices. Not out there yet though, so maybe as that comes forward, some of you will help with that. But, and we also don't have a plan for modules for the 4th and 5th grade resources right now. Still very possible that will come to fruition. There's a lot of talk right now on how to support this work for the long term. So there you go, a tool that might help as you decide and kind of schedule for yourself when you'll do this deeper learning around this instruction. Acknowledging that your role is different from a lot of the other people who are participating in these resources. And it's only going to be helpful as we grow our conversations. You'll be leading in this in many of the schools because they, again, have had maybe exposure but not depth around this. I don't mean to have negative presuppositions at all about that. It's just the truth. This work is really fresh for our field, and you know as leaders how long it takes for things to really get to the classroom level. We are going about it in a strong way. We're going about it with literacy coaching, which we know from research is one of the strongest predictors of actual change in practice. And we're going about it with things like the HIL grant with you to support the leaders in the school. And we're just in an early stage. So you will lead with this, and we can't thank you enough. So I just want to pause right now, get Melissa ready. You have for yourself. So when all else fails, you got to go to the phone, right? We can see her, and we just couldn't hear her with this tech setup, so now that's solved. This is Dr. Melissa Usiak, one of the core members of the research team who helped establish these school-wide essential practices. She is going to be an incredible resource to us as an entire project as we move forward, and we are honored to have her here today. She's the executive director for Michigan ASCD right now. She is a professor at Michigan State University in their educational leadership program and has been a really important voice on the early literacy task force as we move this work forward. And she knows many of you in the room, so this is like old home week right now. So here we go. Melissa, I will step aside. Thank you for your time. I will not step toward the speakers, no. I'll step over here. It doesn't matter where I stand.
Just don't go
Right,
on.
okay.
There we go.
Don't go on anywhere.
Don't go on.
Maybe right
Okay.
here.
All right.
Is this good?
We're good.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll turn it down.
Alright.
And I can work on it.
Faces, so I don't want to make, I mean, my children say my voice is pretty annoying without. So I just want to be thoughtful.
Good.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to join in for a few moments of your meeting. And I have to say that if this whole HIL grant facilitator thing doesn't work out, there is a stop at the biggest trip for some of you after one month. Feel very confident you're multi-skilled, so that will come in handy. And I get to see Dan pretty regularly. I get to practice it a lot, but I can always look the best in the room, by the way. You want to get judged. So I'll be thoughtful about time, because I know you're so much you've been doing. I'm sure you're a bit overwhelmed with details, just like anytime we ask learners to sit and take in and be thoughtful and process a lot of information. But I just wanted to say thank you again for giving me a few moments of your time today in your collective learning stage. Because I think that the more we can make connections between our work across the state, the more powerful the work is going to be. And we're really excited that the task force can have a role in the HIL grant and work with the researchers from Western, because again, I feel like it's really builds credibility of what we're working on and really builds that collective energy. This is one project that I've been involved in now for 2 years, and I think you'll hear lots of people say if they're working in conjunction with the building and the shaping of the essentials, we feel like it's work that really embraces a lot of synergy from across many organizations at many levels and experts from all over the place. And it's just really exciting work to be engaged in. I was brought on along with Dr. Christy Cooper-Stein with one of my colleagues here at Michigan State. We're both faculty in the K-12 Education Administration Department. And she was asked by Tanya Wright, who's one of our colleagues here at Michigan State in teacher education and now Duke. We used to be here and now at UNM, as you know, to kind of come on board and try to help define some research-based essential practices that really need to take place at the school and systems and districts and beyond level to help leaders really shape the work. We cannot underestimate the pivotal role that the principals you're going to be working with have in all of this work. Any sort of initiative, I'm sure that you know, and this is no exception. And so we wanted to, as a literacy task force, really develop what were some essential practices that leaders could start to think about and ensure are in place in order for those classroom practices to unfold. And if you've ever worked in any sort of a classroom or even middle management, and you get a certain point in the work and growing, and the system beyond you is not where you are, it's very stifling, it's discerning, and it stops you in your place. And that can be an extremely frustrating place to be when you know you're doing work that makes a difference for kids. And so I've been in that position as a school principal when we were doing different things over the course of those years. So we really want to time our leaders to know what's to come if they want to have a school community that embraces these classroom essentials and these coaching practices as well. We want to prime the leadership for this really, really important work. And when I say systems, school-wide, center-wide, we really need leaders at all levels to be embracing these essentials. And so And I know now you've had a chance to speak to a lot of superintendents, so leaders of districts from across the state at one of their conferences recently, and I think she really started to create some momentum. And we want to follow up with that through your work and other work to really get not only superintendents, but those people at central office that are charged with making sure curriculum, teaching, learning, assessment are in place, and then those building level teams and leadership positions as well. So when we say leadership, we're really talking about leadership in a broad sense, and we really are hoping school-wide essentials are going to help you to start to identify where you can begin to support the leader, and as we'll see in essential number 1, the leadership team. We're really fortunate to have had some conversations with Dustin, who is leading some of the research from Western and the HIL grant to really make sure that we're being thoughtful about what the essentials hold for us. So we have met a couple of different times, Christy and I and others on the task force that helped him. He's been open enough, and the people in the grant have been open enough to work with us. So and I know he'll talk to you about a little bit about a tool that we can integrate those systems together to help us define and focus our work. What you will hear people say when they're intimate with the essentials is that never are they meant to be used as a checklist. Because we know when we come out with resources like this, they can easily be made into checklists. Oh, we do that. Oh, we do that. Yep, I do that. That's not what we want. We really want to embrace process. And we really want to think critically about our practices, whether those be in the classroom or at the school level as well. So today is just about exposure. There's a lot. I'm sure you're getting exposure in a lot of ways today. We're not going to have a chance to really delve in and dig in. But fortunately, your work extends far beyond today, and you'll have that opportunity. And you're going to learn right along with the people that you're working with in the schools that you are partnering with. So when you look at the school-wide essentials, there are 10, much like the K3 and the pre-K. There are 10, and they are all research-based. They all have gone through a process. We have vetted the research that we are using empirical pieces. We are using meta-analyses, or we are falling back on really expansive broad work such as those IES guides that come out of what we're clearing out. So we are really making sure we have really strong research to support these. They are not in any sort of priority numerical order. And that's the same for the other essentials that you'll see. It's comprehensive, complex work. They are all important. But we do know you have to start somewhere. And if you were to look at the 10 in the school-wide, center-wide, I kind of think about the first 4 as being extremely foundational to the other work that should unfold. And if you're not thoughtful about those first 4, it's going to be really hard to get to some of the others. In schools and leaders are at different points, depending on their past experience, depending on the strength of their core, their data, their student population, their teaching scores. Everyone's kind of at a different place, and that's okay. So we have to look at all 10 of these comprehensively, and at the same time not get overwhelmed. So there's a lot there. If you look at the middle, there's number 5, number 6, and number 7. Again, very, very important. But if the first 4 are not as great, it's going to be harder to make sure that those middle 3 are really going to be sustainable and maintained. And then the last 3 are really reaching beyond the school walls. And it's really reaching out to family, beyond the school calendar, to community. And so again, those things, it's hard to build those relationships and partnerships outside the school walls if you don't have that strong foundation within your school walls. So the first 4 embrace building a leadership team, having a climate, organizational climate, where you have collective responsibility for all students learning. The third one is about the learning environment. So how do you set up your school so that when anyone walks in, they know you have that strong sense of purpose and strong commitment to literacy. And the fourth one is about professional learning. And you're going to need professional learning in place in order to focus on things like instructional resources, or making sure you have systems that involve a strong core and then layered systems and tiered systems of support. If you don't have strong professional learning, you're providing a why with a research base, and like that in number 4 as a frame, it's going to be hard to make sure that other things are done, in an effective way. So again, just thinking about exposure today and kind of sticking with that as our theme, I want to really look at number 1, and you all have a copy of those. And it's going to be my opinion, and in my experience as a school leader who was usually committed to literacy. I served a really at-risk population, and I felt from a very early point in that position that helping my students be able to read and write would be an opportunity for them to provide access along the way that they may not get otherwise. And that is what we wrapped ourselves around at school. I also studied the literacy content knowledge of elementary principals in my own dissertation and my own research studies here at Michigan State. So this is near and dear to me, all of this work. But if you think about honing on number 1, that is going to be a really important place for you to think about and for you to reflect as you get to know your school community that you're going to be working with. Again, Dustin's going to show you and help you with the protocols along the way that will help you continue to design this work. But if you just look at number 1, we're talking about a leadership team. Because not every elementary principal, not every curriculum director, not every superintendent has a deep, rich understanding of how literacy is taught and how literacy is learned. But we do in our common training and practice and leadership development know that systems and distributing leadership is essential. And so when we look at those different bullets under number 1, we're really thinking about, does the leadership team, are you coming to work with them? First of all, does the principal have a leadership team? That's going to be a really important thing to start asking about and looking for. Is on that team their representation of team members with a strong literacy expertise and background? Because it may not be that principal. And that's okay, helpful, yes, wonderful, yes, amazing, will it be a dream, but it's not going to happen. So have they built their coalition with expertise at the table? Do they, as a leadership team, understand and promote the use of high-quality curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and the links between those three? So do they have conversations about how their assessment system provides data that then can inform their instruction, which then leads them to selecting materials, not programs? Just like Darren said, we're not promoting programs and any of these essentials, we're promoting practices. So does that team have conversations about those three things and how they link together? Do they have a vision, a mission, and a set of goals that drive the work? That's a pretty easy question to ask. Have you had a conversation about shared values? Have you done any revisioning, remissioning? Have you revisited the stagnant, one sentence phrase that's posted on letterhead and magnets and all over? If it doesn't embrace the work and it's not living and it hasn't been shared and rallied around by the entire, not just the team, but the school, that's going to be a really good place to start. We don't do that enough in leadership in general, and we definitely need to be doing it when we're setting up the essentials for literacy. Does the team ensure that they have a comprehensive assessment system that not only looks at students' needs and identifies those students and their needs, but also looks at the students' strengths? That's going to be really important to think about. Do they have a comprehensive assessment system? Not just trainers, not just unit tests, but do they have a comprehensive assessment system? So asking questions and probing there is going to be important for your work. And does that assessment system collect multiple points of data to guide that teaching and learning? And not just quantitative data. Sometimes perceptual data is going to be have a role as well. And how does that fall into these multiple points of evidence? Do they have a collaborative problem-solving process? So one thing that I've seen that is happening in compliance with the third grade reading bill is we are mandated at schools to have instructional reading improvement plans for students who are not at grade level, K-3. What's happening is people are journeying to be compliant, and they're missing the opportunity to create a collaborative problem-solving process in which they have that conversation. And we're really missing a chance to leverage that compliance and commit to some strong data dialogue around student needs, so that the teacher isn't left to just figure things out on their own. They have a team that they can also draw from in their expertise. And finally, that last bullet talks about distributing leadership to build capacity. Because it cannot just be the one lead. It can't just be you as a facilitator. It can't just be the coach. So identifying who's on that team and are they starting to own and collect the responsibilities of that team to drive the work forward. I feel like if those things are in place, and that's not easy stuff. That's not going to happen in a month, right? And even if they have a lot of those things in place, it's still going to be important to have conversations and push something critically. Again, these are not check boxes. We have overused check boxes in our educator evaluation process, and we do not learn to it here. They are meant to drive conversation. And the tools that Justin's working on, I think are really going to help provide some evidence to have further conversation and dig into this work further. So again, just some exposure, but based on quick conversations with Darren, we thought it was really important to just get you into the school-wide, center-wide document, and also really think about how you as facilitators can start to collect some evidence of how strong that leadership team is that's working with that principle. Darren, what did I miss, Darren?
Nothing. That was stunning. Thank you. and so succinct. So, would you happen to have a prompt for us to be able to just turn and talk and process a little bit?
Yeah, I think one of the things I would like to start thinking about is, in trusting relationships is across all of this, right? And I want you to give yourself some grace, because you may have a relationship with these schools, but likely you're not going to. So, you have to, and I think you know that, but sometimes just hearing it is really helpful and validating. You're going to want to ease into that and give yourself some grace to build trust in relationships. Our sense of urgency is so great. I want all this in place like 5 years ago, right? Because I had kids who needed it 5 years ago. And your sense of urgency and theirs is going to be similar, but, it's that balance of applying positive pressure, starting to look through a critical lens, while you're also, you're also providing support and you're building that relationship so that you can have that collective work around this. So I guess one of the prompts in there I was talking about is if you could just do a turn and talk and think about how you might start to gather evidence of this team and these things being in place in the school that you're working with. How might you go about that initially?
We'll spend about
Could be a part of
3 minutes having that quick turn as I walked around, and she has one final comment.
And Erin turned the computer so I can see more of you, and you have some powerhouses in the room. So I'm really excited about who's there and the work that's going to unfold and that we can continue to partner and work together. The other thing I want to point out, in all of these essentials, there are these footnotes.
Bring my phone home.
It's about 4-point fonts, so grab the glasses. But if anyone asks you why are you talking about this? Why is this so important? Here is your why right here. And I think that's really important, and no matter which one you point to, there's something to support this work. We've done that work for you. Honestly, I thought it was going to be like 2 meetings, in the spring 2 years ago, and it's 2 years later. So it's been a labor of love in all cases, but we really want you to know that that's your why right there for all of this work. So I just wish you the very best, and I hope I get a chance to work with you more, whether that be directly or continue to work with Dustin and the task force. And you're in good hands with Mr. Wheaton for sure.
Go green!
Could we thank Melissa, please? The real work that you're actually doing in the instructional rounds. So you know that bullet? She's still here, that's awesome. You know that bullet underneath Essential 1 that talks about the goals? So the instructional rounds are already establishing some of that for you, right? The schools are establishing their areas of focus for this. And as those areas are being articulated, both in that instructional rounds day and when they're offered back to the staff for any wordsmithing and revision, the school-wide essentials are your great tool to go back to for some of that research-based language. For example, in our lab school at Moon Elementary, we did the rounds again recently because they're part of this HIL grant too, and one of their goals was on a really effective summer literacy plan. So we went right to the essential near the end of this document and looked at that language. They identified that goal, but we looked at this document, we looked at the research to say, how do we go about that? So it's here for you to start to take up however that makes sense, and more resources will come. On March 8th, one of the groups from the early literacy coaching team, and Susie's on that group, is focusing on classroom libraries and summer literacy success. So they're putting together resources to present to early literacy coaches, and that will be recorded and we'll share that out with you. So some of the lab schools are already creating some really great ways that these school-wide essentials are coming to life, and as we keep getting that message out and learning more from each other, you will be that audience as well. Thank you.